And welcome to episode 29 of the Brewed Sages, Stormbound players with a head for the game. I am Freeloader, and with me as always is Sabaiku, and for the last time, Arthis. Sabaiku, how's it going tonight?
Fantastic.
And Arthis, you're leaving us.
Yeah, I feel like the time has caught up to me. And I have a lot of reasons regarding why I may be leaving, especially the podcast and maybe the game entirely. But we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, let's make that our main topic for the evening. So for all of you listening, we are the Brewed Sages, easily the second best Stormbound related podcast in production. As a reminder, you can always follow us at Brewed Sages on Twitter, or for all of you who had the theme song to Thundercats memorized, our email address is thebrewedsages@gmail.com. So, guys, some community news. There is a draft tournament starting up, hosted by the one and only Reckless Rush. I don't know, Sabaiku, did you ever get to play in one of these draft tournaments?
I have not played in a draft tournament, and unfortunately, I could not be a part of this one.
Dang. I always love these draft tournaments by Reckless. They're always, I would say, one of my favorite like equals events whenever it does come up. I mean, I'm obviously I'm participating in this one.
Yeah, I mean, this mad lad has effectively reprogrammed all the scripting inside of Discord such that you there's a bot running that asks you a question. It shows you literally 3 cards, and you have to give a reaction. There's 3 reactions. There's like a red, a yellow, and I think it's red, yellow, blue, or red, yellow, green. I don't remember right now. And and that's how it works. So the bot asks you a question. You have 1 minute to respond by giving a reaction to the question. And red, yellow, or blue represent the 3 different options you have. So red could be green prototypes, blue could be, gifted recruits, and yellow could be, I don't know, lawless herd. And that's how it works. You just go through 12 times and you're done. It is the coolest thing to think that he sat down and ran, and developed this script from scratch. And it works beautifully. It really is cool. It's obviously played in equals, to give everybody a fair shake at it. And Arthis, how's it going so far for you?
Well, I won the first match. It went straight into brackets, I guess. There's also a losers bracket too. So the person I beat, 3Y, I guess. He's down to losers, and I guess I'm moving forward. And my deck? It's amazing. It's absolutely brilliant. Mia, Ebonrock. Yes, that's it. Runners.
The ultimate combo.
It's the forbidden combo, the unspeakable forbidden combo.
You can't even flex with unstable. That's so harsh.
And it's funny because like I'm playing Ironclad, but I only have 2 Ironclad cards in there, and that's Mia and Debug Lockers. Oh man,
sounds like a winter deck.
Yes.
All right, moving on from the draft tournament. Best of luck to everyone in it, Arthis included. For those of you who have been watching the race at the top of the Heroes League, we are recording this on the 28th, so there's a couple of days to go. This hopefully airs before the end of it. The Heroes League top 2 have been for a while now, back and forth between Thomas Petrie and the Merc. But as of right now, that's all been shaken up quite a bit. Thomas Petrie is still in first, but Lombardman in second. UZ93 in third. The Merc is down to fourth. Hobbs is in fifth. Realst, our winner from last month, out of nowhere, has popped into the top 10 in the last 2 or 3 days. KKA7 has one of the most amazing swarm decks I have seen in the Heroes League. It's running Draconic Roamers, guys, and he's sitting up there in 7th. Tony Goomer, who was top 10 last month, has also made a late push. He is now in 8th. Blue Phoenix 9th, and Lukuam, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Lu Kamwa, let's go with that, Lu Kamwa, is in 10th. Best of luck to all of them, but with some of these players moving up out of nowhere, they haven't been in the top 10 until late. I'm thinking there's still some energy and some movement to happen.
It sounds like they really have taken your advice from last month to heart, tried to stay in the middle of the pack for most of the month, and making that late push to try to get into the top 10, try to win it all.
Yeah, some fresh legs late means this could be very exciting going down the stretch. So with that, let's move into our main topic. Arthis, uh, you are leaving the podcast, and like you said, perhaps even the game. To let what is going on?
Yeah, it sounds like it's quite out of nowhere, but I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know, some of the very loyal listeners out there can already hear the undertone in my voice and my disappointments in the game, although I try my best to be optimistic. But yeah, I mean, the game, it's really, I don't know, it's just not fun anymore. And it's even worse than just not fun, you know? It's just straight up making me this, like, angry, toxic person. And honestly, I mean it sucks to just blame it on one thing, and it sounds like it, but this only really started once Heroes League was introduced. Heroes League with the crazy competitive environment it brings along with it, you know. And I'm not saying Heroes League is a mistake. Although I have said that before, but I don't mean that literally. I think Heroes League is something that almost all games should probably have. You know, that kind of competitive aspect. Unfortunately, I just don't like the competitive atmosphere in terms of Stormbound the game, because you know what comes with it? Same old decks with the same unbalanced cards because of balances and like nerfs and buffs, or I don't know, they don't go as often as we would like. I mean, sure it's every month, but it's every month and half of them are cards like no one uses or something. And so it's just the same stuff, same siren or whatever. For one, that makes it pretty boring already. And then I don't know, I really don't like the maxed meta level 5. It seems that a lot of the games are decided around like 6 or 7 mana. I'm not saying that you lose 6 or 7 mana, like obviously games last longer than that. But like I really really feel like in my experience they just seem to be decided at 6 or 7 mana. You're just kind of forced to play it. It just puts like salt on the wound, you know? And I mean, the thing I really don't like about it is that, yeah, you know, competitive, and I'm sure a lot of people have asked for this. Some people also don't like it, right? That's completely fair. This is, you know, up to personal preference. But like I said in one of the episodes, there's just no escaping it. I'm basically forced to play Heroes League. Like, sure, you can argue I can stay down in Diamond, but there's like not even that many people in Diamond left. It's just bots. And the only reason I'm in Heroes League is just to like avoid the stupidly long queue times, just to queue into some bot that I'm gonna insta concede to anyway, because resources don't really matter to me given how little I actually get from them. So I just want to play players, right? And Heroes League is kind of the only reliable way to do that. But because of that, like, you know, people, I don't know, it's just not the environment I love to play in anymore. I mean, what, I spent so much money in this game. Finally being able to like explore so many decks, way more than I ever thought I could be, right? You know, with exploring mid-range, control, knowing to ditch rush because it's absolutely boring. Sorry guys. But anyway, I have so many decks that I still want to try, and I'm still building, and I still want to publish into Stormbound Kitty, but I can't even like, you know, test them properly anymore because it's like, sure, some of them are like, you know, not the best and they struggle in Heroes League, right? Whatever. Like I don't mind struggling in Heroes League, but I can't even properly test a deck and its general strength if I'm just playing against two decks. You know, it's just like why am I even trying to play this deck when I can't even get the kind of like experience or discovery I can get from it just because people are playing the same things, or I get a bad draw before 5 6 mana. I don't even see my entire deck that's, you know, capable of dealing with the enemy's deck. I just didn't have them at the right time, and the games are decided, and I just have to play through it. It's just so much frustration, man. It's I really don't find any fun anymore with the game, and it's really sad to say that that's how it is right now.
Well, we're definitely sorry to see you go, Arthis, and you know those are certainly 100% valid reasons. But there's a lot there to unpack. So I want to start with the Heroes League, if you'd like to talk about that a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more.
Of course.
That was a fantastic insight that you had. That you just realized it's a good idea for the health of the game, but it's not for you. And that's really important, because we definitely talked about that from the beginning, when the Heroes League was announced, that the Diamond One sandbox was a lot of fun for a lot of people, and the competitive nature of the Heroes League would be fun for a different set of people. And there's not a lot of overlap in that Venn diagram, I think.
I mean, there have been some ways of getting to sort of try to turn the Heroes League into a fun sandbox. I know, for example, Overdrive and our our favorite god from last month, Zimu, did a race to the bottom that they are now currently coming back up from. You know, I suppose there's that's using the Heroes League in a way unintended, but at the same time, it's certainly not the same competitive environment that the top 10 or 20 players are in, right?
Definitely not. And look, being somewhere kind of in the middle of the pack, I've spent the whole season around like 200 to 250 before I'm starting to try to make a little late month push. Like, I would see people playing toward the lower end of the Heroes League, playing fun stuff and not really concerned about trying to rank up, it looked like. And I was definitely doing the same thing for a little while in the middle there, trying to use different things. But to what Arthis said, it's very hard to experiment when all of your opponents are running really optimized decks. Like, you do get a good handle on if it works or not very quickly, but you don't get a good handle on why it doesn't work, what cards are the ones that are holding you back and need to be changed. Uh, really, it's hard to get the repetition in and the different use cases in that really help you refine a deck.
Yeah, to Subaiku's point, it really feels like it becomes just a game of like counter picking what you see up there instead of playing what you want in the way that you want. And I guess I forgot to mention, but like the biggest motivators I have for games in general is not winning. It's getting better, right? And after reaching the top for so long, I mean, I know I can definitely make it up there. I know I'm competitive. So now it's like, okay, how can I get better? And one of the biggest ways I do that is to try and discover new decks. I mean, much like my really proud trunk beam decks and its many different variants that I've been playing around and finding really good success in. I mean, I finally breached 1400 with Trunk Beam, and I'm pretty sure people didn't expect that. I didn't expect
I
that, to
sure
be honest.
didn't.
But like it's totally doable, and I love that. I love showing my limits and my skill by sort of handicapping, but also not really, because sometimes you really discover something that is real. Like when I was playing around with Zuri before it even got buffed, and look, now it's in every Swarm deck.
And now, in fact, number one, Thomas Petrie is running a Zeri Swarm deck.
Yeah, yeah, it's just
Everybody's surprised because we all had Swarm pegged as the worst of the four factions. And
yeah,
and he says, no, I'm going to take it to number one spot.
yeah, and I just love like seeing how much further I can push my limits. Whether I'm losing or winning, it doesn't matter if I can take something away from it. But if it's like, oh, I lost because like I just didn't have the cards in that moment, even though I have it in my deck, or like if I'm struggling to beat particular people in Heroes League, then to get better I just have to play more meta decks. But like I know how to play more meta decks. It really, I don't find any satisfaction whatsoever. It's like I know I kind of sound like I'm digging my own grave by not playing meta decks, but that's just not how I have fun, guys.
Playing the cards and putting the units on the board is a small part of the game. Trying to understand the larger picture, trying to pick out which decks, which archetypes are going to be good in this particular climate that the game is in, trying to craft new decks, trying to come up with new cards, trying to pick which cards are the right tech cards for the moment, right? These are all very different skill sets, and not a lot of players actually have all of them, are good at all of them, or enjoy all of them. And like, you have your area of the game that you really like, and it's important that you know what that is. And when the Heroes League gets added to the game, it does change the game, and it makes certain parts of the game, at least, very different.
Yeah.
And there is something psychological about the crown score, right? Like, even if you just say, well, look, I just want to go to the Heroes League because I want the end of season rewards and I want to just meme it up. I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to do whatever. There is something emotionally bruising about dropping, 150 crowns in a sitting when you're like, I thought this idea worked. And now it's just clear that it, it
Yeah.
did not,
It really hits in a different way, doesn't it?
it's funny that it does because as Subaiku has tried to point out before, the scores are made up and the points don't count. Um, but at the same time, it is the first time that you can kind of see where you're ranking. And I'm actually I noticed this last month. I found being outside the top 100 very liberating because I'm not in the top 100 list. You can't see where I am. I could be 101 for all you know. I could also be 501. And so this month I've actually spent most of the month in the top 100. I fell out recently, and now I'm just kind of feeling this itch to try to get back in to prove no, I belonged in the top 100. So there is something psychological about that for sure.
It definitely does hurt to watch the crown score go away, and even if you're saying to yourself, the score is made up, the points don't matter, it's still, you're watching it and you're like, oh gosh, like I'm losing something. And even if you had like a 6 7 8 game lose streak in Diamond 1, like you never really noticed, like you knew it but you didn't really internalize it, and there were no ramifications. Now the ramifications are presented to you after every single match.
Yeah, and especially for some people out there who don't really who kind of take the crowns at face value as something that really represents someone's skill and experience in the game. Like for example, if they're like top 100 and then they face someone like not even diamond 1, and having that sort of psychological bias where it's like, "Oh, this person, I am expected to win against this person." And that they're it should be a winning matchup for you against this diamond 2 person, but because of the way Stormbound works and that diamond 2 has like max levels, it's just a matter of, well, is that person actually good, is that person actually bad? When you lose to them, not only do you feel like, dang, did I really just lose the expected favored matchup, but I also get punished severely for it. And I know not a lot of people understand that, like, the difference in skill really between like top diamond versus like middle or middle high of Heroes League is really not that much.
Yeah, I think we've always said from the start of the Heroes League, it's skill is very important, and you can definitely notice. I don't want to speak for everybody. I can definitely notice when I'm playing against somebody in the top 20, top 50 versus somebody in the top 300. There is usually a big difference, but a lot of it also just comes down to your willingness to grind. Like you got to sustain a decent win rate, which means you have to be pretty good, but you also just have to play a lot of games in order to get that high on the leaderboard. And man, that's the part that's really hard.
Yeah, thinking back to Hearthstone, I remember there was one time I actually queued into a pro, and we weren't even in legend. I think I was at rank 4. This is back in the old days of how Hearthstone did their leagues, and so I think I was like rank 4 or 3, and I ran into him, and I remember at the time thinking, "Geez, like I thought he was one of the best players in the world." And then it turns out, well, of course he is. He just came back from back-to-back tournament weekends, traveling the world. One of the tournaments was in like Asia, and the other one was in Seattle. And so he hasn't touched ladder. Like he's not obligated to get to the top end of legend ladder in the first 5 days. You know what I mean? So that's, for me, that's been one of the things that's been kind of funny about this is like I queue into a Diamond 2 player, and one of the first things I'm trying to figure out is, well, is it someone who's trying to make the like Diamond 1 for the first time? Or is this like a top 20 player who just, hasn't picked up the game until now because they know they didn't need to grind all month to make the top 100, and that's really all they care about. The rank is I don't want to say it's fake, but it doesn't tell you everything about your opponent's skill. It just
No,
tells you where they are right now.
but it is the driver for the difference in crowns that you get with a
It
win or loss.
sure is.
So even though it has no real reflection on your opponent's skill a lot of the time, or your opponent's card levels a lot of the time, it's still what ends up driving a lot of the frustration.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, how about we talk about some things that maybe we'd like to have changed for Heroes League, right? Because from what I heard from what someone said, Kitty actually, she had a really interesting, also really significant change. And I'm not saying this is what you should do. I'm just throwing out some of the ideas that some people have come up with. And she was saying that why should Heroes League be like a monthly thing? Why can't it just be a global leaderboard that just goes on like forever? You know, like in other games, really. It's not like some kind of monthly push. You know,
The reason why you can't do a global leaderboard is because you can't have new people come into it, 3 months after the Merc's been playing 125 games a day and winning 123 of them. And like nobody can catch up, right?
Right.
The monthly
Only
reset,
correct.
the monthly reset allows for a fresh new competition and in theory fresh new players to enter every month. And you could certainly argue for, hey, why don't we do it for just the last 2 weeks of the month, just the last week of the month, and try to shorten the season artificially so that people still have the beginning of the month as a sandbox
oh,
before
that's a
the
pretty
real push.
interesting idea.
I really like that idea. Wait, so you make it to the Heroes League, and for the first 3 weeks of the Heroes League, whenever you get in, doesn't matter. Nothing. Everybody's crowns are still just 1,000 because it doesn't matter. You play, you experiment, whatever, and then the final week of the season, it turns into okay. Well, now everybody's optimized their decks and they think they know what the meta is going to be. Go.
So that would really help with what I think the biggest problem is, and that's a lot of players are unwilling to experiment with the cards in Heroes League, with their decks in Heroes League, right? What happens is you have a deck that does win and gets popular and ends up dominating the meta just because people know that it works, so they'll play it.
Yeah.
Anybody who experiments, like we talked about earlier, tends to lose a lot of crowns. And for most people that don't have the time to put in, that's that's something that they can't get back. So you're punished for experimentation, you're punished for creativity unless you stumble onto something that really works right out of the gate. I'd love to see something that allows for that kind of experimentation so we can get a little more diversity in what we play against. Now, people's collections being what they are, maybe you don't get diversity in what you play against because it's so hard to level up a wide variety of cards to level 5, but we'll talk about that later on.
Yeah.
I really like that idea. I think another one I have that, can apply to a lot of aspects of the game, but just something to throw out. Just to like mix it up every like month, they can have like some sort of like modifiers. Like let's say a handful of cards that are probably not seeing a lot of play rate like at all. Having them in your deck and winning gives you a little bit more crowns than if you didn't. And then like it each month it's gonna be a new set of cards, and people can
Or
maybe
gold.
discover, or oh yeah, maybe it's not even a crown thing. Maybe it's just you get resources from it. You're kind of
10 extra gold for winning
encouraged.
with avian stalkers.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, right? It would definitely help the creativity, and it would make it so that the game isn't as stale for too long, right?
How hilarious. Wait, think about this. How hilarious would it be if farmers in Platt started playing like the worst possible deck, simply trying to maximize the number of gold they got per game? And they're
That would
playing
be,
like avian stalkers and wetland
I feel like
deceivers.
that's still better than just the farmers playing 3 decks.
No, that would be good. That would be awesome.
That would be
Like
cool.
you'd know right away. You'd queue in. You're like base health 20. What is going on? Or well, I guess base health 17. Is he a farmer? Then you see the wetland deceivers. You're like, oh my gosh, it is. I bet you he has trekking alderman in there.
Oh yeah. But I guess one of the counterpoints for something like that is not everyone has such an extensive, diverse collection to even play with, right? And then those people who maybe don't have a particular modifier card for that month, won't be able to like reap those kind of rewards while other people can. And so I want to slowly move ourselves towards a different part of the topic, which is the economy, guys. What do you guys think about it?
This is probably the biggest pain point for the majority of the players, and frankly, I'm surprised that this is not related to why you're leaving Arthis. It's just progression is so slow, and we've talked about that in the past, but it's so hard to level up a wide variety of cards to level 5. We focused a lot when we talk on how to get the most out of a single deck, right? How to get the most out of a single faction, how to get the most out of your collection by focusing on cheap neutral cards. All of our guns that we're going to recommend you slot into pretty much every deck, right? Like, spend your fusion zones on Wild Saber Paws because you'll use it everywhere. But how do you switch from a Swarm Rush deck to a Winter Control deck when Wild Saber Paws is the only card in common there? You've really got to have a ton of resources, and it takes so long to accumulate the cards themselves. And then it takes so much longer to accumulate 1,000 gold for each to get it up to level 5. And we've been in the game a relatively short period of time, but my understanding is that level 5 is something that was added well after the game was established, just because basically because Paladin was looking to give people something to do with their gold. Like, everybody had a ton of gold. They're like, oh well, 1,000 gold for getting your cards up an extra level. Here you go. Now there's more content. Spend your gold. Which is a terrible way to approach the problem. And now we're all left with the consequences of that decision.
Yeah, this is certainly my biggest pain point. Like, I am super excited for the new winter card coming out, right? That they've leaked.
The
It's
structure one, right?
awesome. No, not the structure. The
Not the
unit that's
structure.
like a structure. The unit. I love. It's a 2-drop that's 7 health that freezes. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, cheap unit that's going to be so good for doing things like activating a Mistwives and protecting it into a corner on your opponent's baseline. Oh, when I think about how excited I am for that. And then I recognize that I don't have anything near level 5. It won't be 7 health for me. It's going to be like 2 health. What am I kidding? It's going to, and the amount of resources that I need to pour into this one new card just so that I can play it. For me, that's huge. I actually am sitting on 2 gold-rimmed cards that are both level 4 currently, Potion of Growth and Overchargers. I don't have 2,000 gold. And even if I did, I have so many other things that I want to spend it on, like Brawl, or like maybe, I just leveled up Edric to 4, which I was super excited about. I don't know when I'm going to have a what I would consider loose 1,000 gold to put into either, let alone 2,000 for both. I think those guys are going to stay level 4 for a long time.
You can put 2,000 gold into upgrading 2 cards from level 4 to level 5 when you don't play either one regularly.
Correct.
Or you can get 6 or 7 cards into a semi-playable state where they're going from level 3 to level 4. And yeah, they're not as strong as they could be, but at least there's something you can use and you can play with and try them out.
Right, exactly. And then know whether or not I want to put more into them later, right?
Yeah, I'd say like one of the biggest things I don't like about the economy is not that it's slow, because slow can be dealt with patience, right? And some people have it, some people don't. But what I really don't like about it is how everything revolves around gold, 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 gold. Gold to upgrade cards, gold to buy books to get random cards you don't like, maybe one of them you do. Gold to play into Brawl, right? To get some of those other resources. But it's just like, why is everything in for gold? Because now when you do, a lot of people would maybe argue that 1,000 gold for leveling a 5 is not that much. That's fine. Like, if you love to play the game a lot, 1,000 really isn't a lot. You get that in like 2 days, I believe, or 2 or 3 days. I don't even remember now. But
Really?
yeah.
2 days from quest and gold cap, but that assumes
Sure.
you have the time to hit
Right.
the gold cap. And
right, exactly.
yeah,
Sure, maybe 1,000 as a value doesn't mean much, but you're not just paying 1,000 in terms of just a number, you're also paying this sort of opportunity cost. Where like if you spent this 1,000 now, you won't be able to buy 10 noble books because of it. You won't be able to go up to the 10 fusion stone mark in Brawl anymore. It really feels like you're sacrificing more than just a number of this currency, but also sacrificing your other options just to go just to upgrade a card, you know? Or it works vice versa too. Like playing for Brawl, then when am I ever gonna upgrade my card? I don't have the gold for that, you know? I
Right.
just
You
really
can
hate.
spend your gold on noble books or on the brawl to accumulate resources, and then you have all these resources that you just got and you're excited for, and now you have to grind gold for a week in order to do anything with them.
Yeah, it's just like you can't do all at once, you know? You're like kind of forced to pick which direction you're gonna be going.
There have definitely been times where I've thought about buying one of the packs, like spending money on one of their packs of like, 30 or 50 cards or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that would be so nice. I'd love to get more copies. Maybe I'd get a couple more copies of Toad or whatever, right? And then I immediately recognized, well, wait a minute, I wouldn't have anywhere near the gold to level up, and like they would all be useless copies because the amount of gold I have is totally insufficient to do anything with those extra cards, even if they were gifted to me right now, right? Like, just think about that. You give me a huge stack of 100 cards, I should be thrilled. And in fact, my reaction to it right now would be, well, that's going to be a few months before I can actually use any of them because that's a lot of gold I need.
Yeah, I've kind of never understood why this game has 3 resources to begin with, like gold to buy cards, fusion zones to compensate for cards that you don't pack. That makes sense. Rubies are now like
Premium
basically
gold.
gold plus, right?
Yeah, they're
Like
premium gold.
you use them to get a better chance at higher rarity cards, fine. And then you also have to spend the gold that you're using to accumulate cards on the upgrades for the cards themselves, and it's fine at level. It's fine going from level 1 to 2. It's fine going from level 2 to 3, and then it starts to really add up after that.
Yeah, even 3 to 4 is a little on the painish side, but I think it's tolerable. The 4 to 5 is just so difficult. And to everybody's point here, how much gold did I put into, let's say, Potion of Growth to get it where it is? I haven't fused it ever. So the only way I got all of those copies is either from buying noble books or from end of season rewards or from the daily. So at this point, it's just like, well, I've already put so much gold into Potion of Growth to get all the copies. Now you want another 1,000 for it. That just
Yeah.
hurts.
Right, so that's why I want to talk about one of the ideas I have for the game, you know, whether they take it or not. But I see this done in many other games that require, like, you know, a lot of grinding, right? Because grinding is not like a foreign aspect of a game. It's out there. It's a very common thing. But like I think that there should be some sort of passive card income in the game that has nothing to do with gold. You know, like for example, like with Clash Royale, just simply winning a game, you get a chest, and then you unlock it, but it takes like 8 hours or so, maybe less, maybe more, to get this, the cards from it, and you didn't need to spend any sort of like hard-earned currency. It's just from being active in the game, and then something like that already on its own flat out improves the economy. But now, how can the company benefit from this, right? Because this one's obviously helping the players, but well, I mean, like many other games, like with the whole like unlocking through time or with ads, it really can easily be monetized through that. So something that like Shipyard can do is like easily monetize this passive card income by like making it so that maybe the players can watch ads to like maybe increase decrease the waiting time to unlock these sort of like books and get the kind of free cards from them. And it's not, people don't really seem to mind really, watching ads, especially because it's so encouraged. After you win a game, you get quadruple the victory. I'm pretty sure everyone's used to watching ads at this point.
Yeah, I love it. I would absolutely like to see more rewards implemented for playing the game and fewer rewards implemented for spending money in the game. And, 100% agree. Sheep art is a business. Like they need to see some sort of income from the game, or else it's not going to be around for us to play. But hopefully they can make that up in other ways. As a person with a kid who plays Fortnite, I can tell you monetizing cosmetics is certainly something that's viable. But people are a lot less likely to spend on things like cosmetics when they really need those resources for progression of and growing their collection. It feels like you're having to make a trade-off there, and you tend to trade toward the one that is functional as opposed to the one that's cosmetic.
Yeah, and I still think the 1,000 gold to upgrade to level 5 is just it's so onerous that it siphons away in-game resources that would have been put to other things. Like I think there'd be a lot more people playing Brawl, for example, if you didn't have to pay gold to upgrade your cards after you've already accumulated
Yeah,
them,
and
right?
I
Gold
want to add
accumulates
a small
cards, and
thing
then
to that.
sure, go ahead.
I mean, like you said, more people would be playing Brawl because now it's not really like taking away opportunities from them. And that also kind of solves a little bit of the Brawl matchmaking. If more people are playing, there's more chance you're gonna match with someone that's, fairly leveled with you, instead
Oh,
of
for
the
sure.
20 HP versus 12 HP kind of deal.
So I will say, before we close out this section on the economy, which has been a real buzzkill, I do want to at least give Sheepyard a little bit of credit here, because when they took the game over, it was in such a worse state.
Oh yeah.
Now the daily login rewards, the ability to spend $5 to the premium login rewards. The shop offers with the vanishing packs are much more reasonable than the standard coins and rubies in the shop. So they do recognize that it was in a bad state and they have taken steps to address it. I would just certainly argue that they haven't taken it far enough.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, there was not a lot of freebie every day, right? There was watch an ad and get a free card, and that was it. And now with the logins, you're absolutely right. There's a lot more resources that we are getting than we used to. But in terms of the amount of time it takes to be able to bring a second faction into your wheelhouse to be able to be competitive, let's say, Plat, Diamond, or Heroes League, it takes a long time. It's a grind to get there.
Especially with the ever increasing card pool. I would hope to expect an also ever increasing economy.
Well, right. That's the thing is I want to adopt some of these cards. I want to bring them into the game. I want to make their card releases successful. And and I can't. I'm going to try the best I can, but I can't actually be as effective a champion for their new cards as I'd like to be because quite frankly, it just costs too much. Oh goodness! Hopefully, we see this a change over time. To Sabaiku's point, it is something that we have seen very positive signs from Sheepyard on. But there's still, they're walking in the right direction, but they're not at the destination yet. I think is the best we can say about it. Moving on from there, Arthis, this being your final episode, we thought we would let you choose the card of the week, and you have selected rightly
Mm-hmm.
Sunbeam Serpents.
Yes, guys, Sunbeam Serpents, my favorite card in the game. And right, if you don't already know, Sunbeam Serpents is a Shadowfen Dragon. It's an epic, and it is 5 mana and having the strength of 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 from levels 1 to 5, having a 1 speed, and its effect is on play, gain the strength of the strongest friendly dragon on the board. And that was cool because back before the beginning of this year, it needed an actual bordering friendly dragon. Now you can play it anywhere on the board. It's gonna take the strongest dragon that you have. It's so much easier to actually set up now, and because of that one giant change, I devoted a lot of my time, and it was so rewarding when I realized how powerful it really is, and how much more fun it sparked into the game again. Um, Yeah, I mean, I have so many like different like chunk beam decks. I call it chunk beam because it's just it's just focused on buffing up a dragon and then using sunbeam to either pressure or defend, you know. And I just had so much fun, and I know I've helped people also discover that fun with me. What do you guys think about the card in your experiences?
I have played around with one of the many variants of the Chonk Beam deck. It is hilarious fun. Um, your opponent knows it's coming, but they can't stop it because if you can position well defensively to survive the early game, just play a little conservatively, push your opponent back. Eventually something is going to survive, or eventually you'll get to a turn where you get to go, spare Dragonling into Sunbeam, and all of a sudden, like, okay, I've made a monster, please deal with it.
Yeah, or worse, I've made 2 monsters.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Not even
that's
confinement's
true.
gonna save you.
Right, because that's the thing. The Sunbeam is only 5 or 6 strength higher than the other dragon. So if you made a 20 strength Sunbeam, great, good job. But there's still a 15 on the board somewhere else.
Right. And because of the bordering thing being taken off, a lot of times you can both defend and pressure simultaneously, which you couldn't do before. Right? Before you needed to either put both dragons defensively or offensively to the detriment of your base health. Now you can split them however you need to, which is just so much more versatile.
Right. And that, I think, is what gives it a huge advantage over something like, say, Lady Rhyme. Like, Lady Rhyme is a fantastic winter legendary because she lets you use all your mana every time you have her in your hand. But a lot of the time, you can choose to attack or defend, not both. So if you have to play her defensively, your opponent has a lot of time to just straight up ignore it and try to kill you before she reaches their baseline. Like with the Sunbeam, you've got multiple large units on the board. You can, like you said, you can set one up to attack and then still, hey, it's only 5 mana for me to go play this defensively and clear your largest unit, or to put it on my second row and you can't break through in order to get a runner in, and now I'm just going to win next turn.
Yeah, and on top of Sunbeam already showing how strong it really is, my real favorite thing about it is how much diversity and experimentation it really brings to the table. I mean, Sunbeam alone was able to bring cards like Potion of Vitality now, and things like Wandering Worms, back into the meta. And one of the more exciting cards that I've found that really works so well is Kindred's Grace. I don't really see people playing Kindred's Grace anymore. And then I know it got buffed like several months ago, just like an extra 1 strength to the targeted unit. But then now that it actually works in the Sunbeam deck, it's just like, oh my gosh, my deck is now like half of it is cards that weren't considered meta, people that don't play or don't even see. But hey, look, I am really competitive with it now. And I love that this kind of change that Shipyard is able to bring to the game is actually, something really significant. And I know that they're capable of doing this more in the future. It was just such a lovely way to just really reignite that spark in my passion for the game. I do trust that Shipyard is definitely gonna bring the game to the game that I wish and a lot of people would wish it to be. I know and I would trust that it gets there. It's just, it's just gonna take some time. Maybe I'll get back when it does get to that state that I would love it to be. I'll still be in the community, guys. Don't worry. I'm still gonna be there helping run and host events. I'll still be in the Discord. I'm still gonna be very active there because although I may be quitting the game, I'm not quitting the community. I'm still there for you guys. And so, yeah, you bet that I'll be there.
Well, awesome. I think that's a good place to leave it for tonight, guys. That's going to end the main portion of our episode, which means it's time for me to remind you one last time to contact us if you like, preferably in our channel on the Stormbound Discord, where you will still find Arthis. On Twitter at the Brewed Sages, or pardon me, on Twitter at Brewed Sages. And you can always email us at thebrewedsages@gmail.com. We do have an additional way for you to reach out and support us. We have started a couple of months ago now a Gumroad account where you can become patrons of our work. You can check out that link in our Stormbound Kitty page. We did hear from one listener this week, Ubermensch, who asked, what happened to the cams? That was kind of a one-off teaser where we tried to distract everyone from the fact that we didn't know what to talk about. So we just
No, you're not supposed to say
just stared at our ugly mugs for a while, going, "That's really what their voices look like." So the next time we don't know what to talk about, you'll see our faces one more time. That's gonna do it for this episode. For Arthis, for the last time, and Sabaiku, I am Freeloader. We are the Brewed Sages, reminding you to stay hydrated.